And today I'm talking to Kevin Dundon, the very well-known chef proprietor of Dunbrody House Hotel and Restaurant in County Wexford. And good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Very good, Patricia. And yourself?
I'm great, thank you. Kevin, you've done so many things and you're such a well-known face on RTE television. But I'd love to know your own story. Would you like to take me through that? How did the Kevin Dundon story start?
It started really from a very young age that food has always been a really important part of my mother's an excellent cook. My grandfather's very passionate about food. And from there, I was very interested in horses. I used to ride out horses all the time, and then so I thought I would have a career in horses.
Sure, yeah.
Architecture, and then kind of settled on cooking. And I guess when you look at architecture and cooking, it's kind of similar because you're creating two great things to get a great result at the end. So from there, I ended up working in a restaurant called the Old Schoolhouse restaurant in the Swords, and it was a really good restaurant. And I ended up going to college, so Dublin College of Catering in Dublin DIT in Calibre
Street, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I did a day release course. So I was there for 3 years, 1 day a week, and I got a scholarship from there, from the Irish government. Actually gave me a scholarship to go to Switzerland.
Oh, fabulous!
For 1 year. What actually happened was that I've always wanted to travel, and I think that's what's great about the hospitality industry and chefing is that you can travel the world, and there's a huge demand for chefs all over the world. So it's a great career in that respect. So there was a cruise line came into Dublin and a recruitment company, and they were looking for chefs, but you needed to be 21. And I was 18.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, early. Yeah.
So I went for the interview purely as a research exercise, and they offered me the position, even though I was 18, to go on the largest sailing yacht in the world called Windstar Sails.
Oh, fantastic!
So I called CERT at the time, was what it was called, for Port Ireland, and the trip hadn't come through at that point, so I took the job, and I said, well, I'll take the job, and then when the scholarship comes through, I'll move on back to Switzerland. So I worked on the cruise lines for a good 9 months, nearly a year actually, and then I went to Switzerland and I worked in Zurich in a restaurant called Mer Catherine, and worked there for a year, and that was exceptional experience. It was fantastic. Didn't have a word of German, so I had to learn on the hoof.
I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah, how did you communicate with them? Yeah, great.
very badly. I got there, and
good for you.
Then when my contract was coming up, I applied for 3 jobs: one in South Africa to the Southern Sun Hotels in South Africa, and one in Australia, and one in Canada. And I was offered all 3 jobs, which was fantastic, but it kind of gave me a bit of a dilemma. And I chose Canada because it was harder to get a visa to go to Canada than South Africa or Australia. And I got the Australian company, it was the Hyatt Hotel Group, to hold my job for a year.
Yes.
And I went to Canada. And I went to the Rockies, and I worked for Fairmont Hotels.
Oh, indeed.
And, yeah. So from there, and I think it would have happened if I went to Australia or South Africa. My career just kind of took off because I was out of training, and I ended up being the youngest executive chef for Fairmont Hotels at the age of 26 or something.
A terrific achievement, and especially Fairmont. I mean, really top of the range there, 5-star all the way.
Yeah, exactly. So I met my wife Kat when we were 17 in Dublin, and so it was kind of on and off when I was traveling. Kat was traveling, and we always kind of seemed to get back together again. So Kat decided that she was going to move to Canada, and with the premises of trying to get me to move home. So it was really there was always a cunning plan there. So we got married in 1994. And we came home and got married in Ireland, and we were going off on our honeymoon and to Portugal, and I picked up a paper, and there was a job posted there for the executive chef job in the Shelbourne, and I had actually said to Catherine that I would only come back for three things, and that would be the exec chef job in the Shelbourne, Dromoland Castle, or open my own country house hotel.
So look as if fate was favouring you at that point then.
Yes, so I had no choice but to apply for this job in the Shelbourne.
Brilliant.
So as we got off the plane from our honeymoon, my mother-in-law was there with a suit. And so I changed in the airport and went straight to the Shelbourne for an interview because we were flying back to Canada the next morning.
My goodness.
And so I met Donald Gallagher, who was the general manager at the time. And he said, we had a great chat. And he said, can you come back in the morning for a second interview with the food and beverage director? So, which I did en route to the airport. And I didn't like the food and beverage director at all. And so I said to Cash, this is not a goer. So we went back to Canada, and I was working away, and then Donald called me about 4 days later. I said, are you interested in the job? And I said, well, not really, because I couldn't work with that food and beverage director. And he said, nor could I, so he no longer worked there. So he said, but can you come back and have a meeting with the director of North of Europe for food and beverage? So I flew back on my days off, and I got the position. And we moved back, which was brilliant because the Shelbourne moved Catherine and myself back to Dublin. And I worked in the Shelbourne from October 94 till January of 97. And it was a great way of introducing me back into Ireland, getting to know all the producers, suppliers, which is really important to me, and kind of get back into the culture of working and living in Ireland. And one day I was doing a split shift. So I was in the morning, then I'd take a couple of hours off in the afternoon. And I was walking up Dawson Street by Jackson Stop and McCabe window, and they had like all these large country houses for sale in the window. And we had bought a small house in Ballsbridge, and the prices in Dublin had started going up, but they hadn't really started to go up in the country. So I looked at different country houses, and I said, well, this is doable because we could sell our house in Dublin and buy this, and then we could have our dream, well, my dream really. So so I went back to Cash and I said, well, what do you think of this? And she was interested, and because Cash was export marketing manager for Boyne Valley Foods. Oh, yes. So both of us had two great jobs in Dublin, and we were young, so we were only like 29, that sort of age. And so we started browsing at different country houses, and we came across Dunbrody House. And as soon as Cash and myself walked into Dunbrody House, we couldn't look at each other because we just knew it was perfect in every description. Although the house itself was closed for 15 years, we just got a sense that it was the right thing for us and our future. So that was kind of the start of Dunbrody. So we went to the bank, and the bank gave us the money.
Good for you.
Every thought we were mad, and because we had two superb jobs in Dublin, we could do whatever we wanted. We had a really nice house in Dublin, and we were kind of set up. But you know, it's probably the best thing that both Catherine and myself did. Although, like over the years, we're there 25 years now. Like we've had our ups and downs, and between recessions, and you know, foot and mouth, like there's
COVID
always been
something
going on. But I think that's what makes every year interesting, particularly when you get your own business. We have an amazing team, and that's kind of really our story.
That is fantastic, because you've told me your story, and actually you've told me the story of the beginning of Dunbrody House itself, which is something else I was going to ask you about anyway. And in that time, that 25-year period, Kevin, you've done so much. I mean, you know, obviously I've been looking up your website and, you know, researching a little bit to talk to you today. And I just am absolutely astounded by the number of things that you have on the go. And I've actually been to the hotel many years ago. My husband and myself took a run down, and of course,
Oh, excellent.
we had a bit of trouble finding you initially because you're nestled down there in the Hook Peninsula, and it's quite a journey to get to you. But my goodness, it's so worth it when you do. And we actually had a cookery lesson in the cookery school, not with yourself, but with the person who at the time was your head chef.
Oh,
So
excellent.
so I do know the beauty of the place, and obviously you've expanded considerably on that even since I was there, which, as I say, was some time ago. I can't remember; it might have been 10 years ago or so. And for instance, in addition to your fine dining offering, I know you now have more casual, your seafood bar as well. And
Yeah, so we've three food offerings in Dunbrody. So you have the Harvest Room, which is kind of our flagship, if you want to call it that. But it's kind of a different style of cuisine. It's
okay,
kind of what's being harvested from the garden and from the sea and the land. And then you have the Dundon, the Champagne and Seafood Bar, which is kind of like more casual seafood offering in the hotel. And then we have on the grounds of Dunbrody, we have a place called the Local,
right.
which is kind of like it kind of it's in an old coach house, so it's kind of really casual and relaxed, and that offers more of a bistro style food. So
Very,
there's great offerings for people that when they're coming down to Dunbrody. And this year we just did a full refurbishment of the whole place, which is really good. And I think it's nice when people arrive in Dunbrody now. So the cookery school that you would have been in
yes.
is now turned into Kevin's studio. So I do a 2 o'clock live every day on Instagram and Facebook, and guests are staying in the hotel can pop in and sit in on that 2 o'clock live every day.
Oh, terrific! Yeah, that's a great
And then we have
opportunity.
the new cookery school is behind that, which is more of a hands-on cookery school, and that does 1 day, 2 day, and 5 day courses, which is great, very popular.
What kind of courses do you offer, Kevin, in the cookery school?
So like the 2 day course is the one that I really like, because it's like dinner parties for six. So what you would actually learn, you would learn how to do 4 dinner parties over the 2 days, and you can mix and match them, and then you have a great scope to cook for your friends and family when you go home. It's really good. The 5 day master class is really good if you want to get more in depth into each subject. So there'd be 1 day full on bakery, another day on fish, another day in meat, another day on desserts. So you kind of you get more in depth. I think what's great about our course, well, this is my opinion, of course, but
Well, yes,
I think they're small, so it's a maximum of 10 people, so it's very much one-on-one. So you can be at any level and you'll get something out of it. So I mean, that's what we hold your hands all the way through.
and very
the day.
hands-on as well, too. The practical
Very
side
hands-on,
of it.
which is exactly. So you can
Because
see
we've
it.
all been places where you're kind of lectured at, and people do the demo and all that. But I think if you don't get the flour in your own hands, you don't really, pick up what you need to be
Yeah,
doing.
because particularly if you're dealing with bread or pastry or something like that, because it is kind of the touch and the feel to know when it's right. So it's kind of, that's important. But like Dunbrody Dunbrody's been a really interesting part of our lives. Our 3 children, Emily, Sophie, and Tom, were born there, grew up, and now 2 of them are in university and one's still in school. But it's a real family home and
Lovely.
family business. But I think how the television kind of came about it was actually through Dunbrody. So we were there, and a film crew came down to do a travel show.
All
And
right,
I'd
okay.
never any idea. I never even crossed my mind about doing TV. And they asked me would I step in and stand beside the host and cook something and just chat. And I did that, and they offered me my own TV show from that.
Oh, super. Was that RTE or was that, no, the Americans?
No,
The Americans?
it was America. So it was the TV show. It kind of went all over the world. They made it and then kind of sold it across all the territories across the world. But it was so that was kind of my first dabble at it, and then I did quite a bit of TV in London on BBC. So Saturday Kitchen,
yeah.
and then also I did a TV series in Northern Ireland called Get Stuffed, and then another TV series called Poker, so TV poker or food poker, and in the UK. So, and then I wrote my first book, Full on Irish, and there was a great achievement through my eyes. I never thought for a million years I'd ever write a book. I remember writing a book, and I love this book, the Full on Irish, because it kind of gives an insight of who Kevin Dundon is and what Dunbrody is about and our whole ethos.
And the title of that book is?
It's Full on Irish.
Full on Irish, thank you.
And then I remember when the first copy came into the hotel, I actually slept with it that night. I cuddled up my duvet with my book. And then I think I've got 7 books now. So, which is great.
Absolutely superb. It's wonderful. Yeah.
It's nice to have diversity in your life, and I think there's no 2 days of my life that are the same. And so between doing radio infused television, writing, and we do a weekly column in the Sunday World every week. So there's quite a bit of time commitment involved.
Indeed,
in getting all this stuff done. But as they say, always ask a busy person to get something done because it gets done.
Well, it certainly seems
to be. The brand ambassador role that I have with SuperValue I've been with SuperValue for the last 16 years, and it's a great partnership. And I travel all over Ireland for SuperValue and food development and stuff like that, which is it's an interesting part of my life, and I enjoy working with them immensely. So.
Yes, and great products coming out of it as well for us, the consumers too. It's great, Kevin.
Yeah, exactly. So the Kevin Dundon Christmas cake and Christmas pudding is a huge. I see them
just coming into the shops actually at the moment as we're
talking here. Yeah, I know it's Christmas time again. So. Yeah. But those recipes are actually the Christmas pudding and cake are actually my great grandmother's recipes.
Oh,
so they've come through. Yeah, so they've come through, and we use a great small bakery in Carlow, Sealy Bakery, and I go down when they're actually making the batch of puddings and
stir about Sunday. You do?
Yeah, so full of butter and full of goodness. It's good.
Absolutely delicious they are too. So, Kevin, just when we're talking about that, development of new products and so on, what would you see as kind of the major trends in Irish food at the moment?
Well, it's interesting. Food is a really interesting thing. It seems to do a full 360. I think we're all so much more conscious about what we're actually putting into our bodies, and we're certainly back in season, as in what's best in season again. So we went through a period there through the Celtic Tiger and so on, is that we wanted to eat whatever we wanted to eat at any time of the year. So whether it's like strawberries at Christmas or asparagus in November, and the problem with that is, and they are produced but the flavor is not in them. So it's like there's nothing nicer to eat a strawberry in the 4 weeks in July, first week of August, when the sun's hitting them and they're so sweet and delicious. You need no sugar, you just need cream, and they're gorgeous. And the same with like during the summer months, we should eat a lot more fish, and we do. So fish and salads, because your body doesn't actually need as much energy. Yeah. And then if you go to the winter months, it's a lot more, slow cooking, root vegetables, and kind of slow release carbs and stuff like that to give you the warmth and the energy. And I think, and people talk to me about diets all the time, and what do you think is a good diet? The best diet out there is to eat in season, because there's a reason why stuff is growing during the summer months that is lighter and you don't need as much, and there's stuff growing in the winter months that has got more energy, slow energy release foods. And I think once you stay within season, you should be fairly balanced in your diet.
That's Really good advice, and I'm sure a lot of us are thinking that way at the moment. With the development of so many country farmers markets around the place where we can get seasonal vegetables and often organically grown vegetables, that's been, a tremendous advantage for, I suppose, the Irish consumer.
There's loads of advantages to that. So it's like, A, you're eating properly at the right time of year, but B, you're supporting local, and you're supporting your local neighbour that's producing something. Absolutely. Which means that you're creating jobs. And I think Ireland is actually made up of loads of small industries, and that's the backbone of Ireland in terms of our economics, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, 6 people working here and 5 people working there, 20 people or 30 people. And I think they're the indigenous companies of Ireland, and particularly in the food industry. And I think it's really important that we all stand up and support all local producers around Ireland.
I think that's never been more true. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to say to you, we're going to have the tremendous benefit of a promotion that you're going to be doing for Scariff GAA here in a short space of time, in about 2 weeks' time. And I'm just going to give that a plug at the moment. It's good. Scariff GAA Hall and Community Centre on Friday the 25th of November. Doors open at 6:45 and the demo actually starts at 8 o'clock. Tickets are €25 and included in that is a wine reception, artisan food, and, as we're just talking about, local craft stalls on the night. Tickets only to get in, and they're available from any committee member of the GAA and Scariff, or from Centra, Kavanagh's Butchers, and Carry Out Off Licence in Scariff. So, Kevin, as a little foretaste of that, pardon the pun, I'm wondering, would you give us a little recipe that we could use for this morning's programme?
Yeah, definitely. So the whole demonstration is how to create the perfect Christmas dinner. So from turkey gravy, ham, and roast potatoes, chocolate trifle, and a few more recipes. But it's I guess, for me, one of the most important things on Christmas dinner is your roast potatoes, and even for every Sunday roast. So you need them crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. Crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside. So the most important thing is that I recommend you use a rooster potato. So you peel your rooster potato, cut them into the size that you want, put them into cold salted water, bring it up to the boil, and let them simmer for 10 minutes, and then strain off the water. Put the lid back on the pot and put it back on the stove, so you evaporate any liquid that's in the pot, and kind of give them a shuffle, so you're knocking the potatoes to the side of the pan, and they kind of get all fluffy on the side of the pan. And then place your roast potatoes around the joint of meat that you're cooking, and then baste them in the oil. I usually use a bit of goose fat. Right. And then they take about 45 minutes to cook, and you need to turn them halfway through the cooking, and just a nice sprinkling of salt over the top of them, and you'll have the most delicious roast potatoes you can imagine. Right. So, but like the chocolate trifle is nice. So it's normally, in our house, we need to have a fruit trifle, and that's because my sister loves it. So
there's always a chocolate fiend, isn't there?
We do a chocolate trifle because my wife Catherine loves chocolate. So I know lots of people that love chocolate.
I'd be right there.
So just do a lovely chocolate. So think of a black forest gatto in a bowl. Is basically kind of what it is, and it just gets better as the days go on, and you can just dip into the fridge and take a small little bite for yourself and run away. It's Christmas after all. So.
That's a good idea. So we're looking forward to getting a bit more on those recipes on the 25th of November in Scariff GAA Hall and Community Centre. And I've just one sort of trick question, if you like, at the end, Kevin. If you were cast away on a desert island, what would be your must-have ingredient?
It's a no-brainer. Butter.
Well, sure enough.
Give me a bit of butter, I can cook anything.
Oh, lovely. Okay, well, I'd really like to thank you for giving us so much time this morning and telling us your story, the story of Dunbrody, and looking forward very much to seeing you on the 25th, and also just to wish you continued success to yourself and Catherine and your family in Dunbrody. the heart of your business enterprise. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you so much, Patricia.